Welcome back to In the Cards and Stars. I'm your host, Britt Madrid Mogensen, and today we have got a lot to discuss. We're going to talk about Aries season dates that you guys need to know in your cosmic calendar. This is not just your average overview. I'm going to give you some friend advice. This is what I'm telling my friends to do during Mercury retrograde when Venus goes into Aries, some spicy tips. Got things happening in the cosmos. So we're going to get into all of that. And then I thought it'd be really fun to share with you guys some things that I like to get up to when I am just cruising the web, can't sleep at night. I will go onto Astrology Reddit. Yes, that's what I do. And what I'm going to do is share with you guys some really cool astrology in the wild moments, like aha moments from Reddit that people have shared about when they realized astrology was actually real. These are like some crazy, crazy, cool astrology in the wild moments from other people that I just can't wait to share with you guys. So we're gonna talk about all of that. Let's get into it. Okay. I've got my little, what I like to call my tarot tea, but it's really just some Alani cherry energy drink in a champagne glass. I can't even talk. It's getting to me, guys. But the bubbles are really going. It seems like champagne, almost that good. But I got more stuff to do. And 'tis the Aries season. So, okay, let's talk about these cosmic calendar dates. If you guys want to pull out your calendar, you could just make a little note of these. First order of the day, I get a lot of DMs about this and I want to clear something up. Mercury retrograde. Let's talk about it. All right, everybody talks about it, right? It's even on the Today Show these days. The way that I look at Mercury retrograde is really actually a good thing if you use it. The reason that it gets such a bad rap, in my humble opinion, is that if we don't realize it's happening, then we're putting our energy in the wrong place. You know what I mean? And so that's when it's like chaos because we don't realize what's going on, but you can use it. And if you work with the energy instead of against it, it's actually really positive. And because this is happening during Aries season in the sign of Aries, if we use this energy right and we're really mindful of it, then we can actually jump light years ahead. Like this is something that could be a really big catalyst for our growth, for our movement, for our progress towards our goals. So this one's a really good one. Mercury retrograde started April 1st and it's going to continue through April 25th. Okay. There's always a little bit of a shadow on either side. Personally, I don't like to get into that too much. I feel it a lot, maybe because I'm Mercury ruled as a Virgo, but I really do feel it a lot during those days. The shadow periods, I look at those, which is usually a week or two on either side of those dates. They kind of last a long time. That's why I'm like, I can't even go there. But the reason that I think they exist and what I've personally experienced is that that's when things get straightened back out or they start to get messed up, messed up, right? In quotes if you're not using the energy right or you don't understand what this time period is for. That's when you will at the front end you'll start to feel the effects and on the back end that's when the solutions, the progress, things are still kind of working out though. It's like it's not you're not at the destination yet, but you're like okay, the aha moments are coming, or you've maybe already started to implement the things that you've learned. That's like the shadow period. Okay. So it's a whole experience, all right, from start to finish. Let's talk about what Mercury retrograde can be used for. The reason that Mercury retrograde exists is because it gives us an opportunity to take a step back so that we can take a leap forward. And the reason that we need this time is because we're always moving forward, right? We are always on the go. When you're busy and you're doing something and you make mistakes and you're not even noticing that you're making the mistakes because you're trying to get things done. I mean, if we think about our day to day, our 24 hours is usually packed. I mean, I'm sure you guys are the same way. I will go to bed exhausted. I will wake up and I'm like, okay, here we go, and it's pretty much until I go to bed. I am moving, grooving, doing stuff. And when you're in that mindset, you're just continuing to move forward on the path that you're on. Mercury retrograde takes us out of autopilot and it gives us this opportunity to do all the things. Okay. And the main things that you can be doing during this time period are relearn, do research. So let's say you have something that's been bothering you, and you may even get a clue to what this can be used for, particularly for you, by looking at your birth chart. So pull up your chart. We like to use whole sign houses over here. And if you guys are new to the podcast, welcome. You can go to astro-charts.com. I like to use that one because it's free and cute and easy to use. And there's celebrity charts on there too. It's fun. But you pull up your birth chart and then go to settings and make sure that you select whole sign houses because the default is Placidus, a different system. So then you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom of the page. And at the bottom of the page, you will see Taurus, Aries, first house, second house, third house, like it'll all be listed there at the bottom. Whichever house is next to the zodiac sign Aries, you'll see it labeled. That is the house that's going to be affected or highlighted during this time period. And you're going to double down on that energy during Mercury retrograde because that's where you are doing all these things. So let's pretend like you have Aries ruling your sixth house. So maybe you need to rethink, research new health habits, or maybe your day to day, like I was talking about, how busy we all get. Maybe you've realized your day to day is kind of overwhelming and stuff's falling through the cracks. This could be a great time period for you to look into like maybe new techniques, like the Pomodoro technique for time management, or maybe you're just tired of your workout routine. The sixth house rules all things like Virgo related. So it's like health, wellness, daily routines, details. So maybe you're like, my workout routine has gotten so boring and autopilot. I feel like I've plateaued. Well, you may decide during Mercury retrograde because your class gets canceled or your favorite instructor leaves, and you look at that as a bad thing. But then you end up going to a soul cycle class, my personal favorite. And all of a sudden, you're re energized, reinvigorated, and you're reaching new goals and you're feeling like you're having fun and you've met a new friend in that class. So, this is what I mean. It's like we get out of our rut during Mercury retrograde, but there has to be something to disrupt us, which is why Mercury gets that bad rap. And if we stay focused on what went wrong, then and that's like this is like a metaphor for life, but if we stay focused on what went wrong, then we don't and we're not trusting the universe to bring us to where we're supposed to be going with all this to the redirect, then yeah, that's what will happen. We'll just stay stuck in it and we'll be frustrated. So the challenge here is to trust anything that happens that breaks down or you feel like you're taking a few steps back, that's good. I promise you during Mercury retrograde, it is good. You are guaranteed during this time period that it's for your benefit. Anything that goes wrong is actually going right. So make that your mantra if you get frustrated. I promise it'll help. This is a time to dig in. Go beneath the surface, spend time on that house. For me, it's my third house, which is communication, writing projects. I have started distributing my podcast on my own, which I'm so excited about. And obviously, I'm so grateful and I love the network that I was at. No shade there. But for me, as an Aries third houser, it's important for me to be independent when I put out my stuff, to have creative freedom. And I've just learned over the years that that's how I thrive. And that's really what works best for me is just being fully independent, be able to charge ahead when I need to, work on my own time schedule. That type of thing just works better for me. So that's what I started doing. And guys, I decided that April 1st, which was at the beginning of the retrograde. And yeah, I mean, and I wasn't even thinking about Mercury retrograde at the time, but I knew I needed to redo that part of my life to be more efficient and just to be more creative and happier, to really support that third house Aries. Wherever you have Aries ruling your chart as well, this is important to note. Whichever house is ruled by Aries, you are more independent in that area. Even if it's your fourth house, let's say that your fourth house of home and family is ruled by Aries, or even your seventh house of relationships could be ruled by Aries. You may think, oh, wow, like how can I be independent in that part of my life? Because this is inherently a part of life where like if it's the fourth house family is involved, if it's the seventh house it's a partnership. That just means that you have to be and completely show up as yourself in that area of your life in order to cooperate and communicate and get along with others. You have to embody your independent self to make it work, to make the partnerships work. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, okay, that's another show for another day, but as you can see, I'm just about all this. Next, revise, rejuvenate. Don't be afraid to fine tune things. Go back over things that maybe you thought were done. If something comes up during Mercury retrograde, listen to it. Don't be afraid to try out something new. Don't be afraid to go back over something. You may find that the extra time that you're putting into refining something that you thought was done, you may find that that's a breakthrough, that takes something to another level that you never expected. And again, it will most likely be in that house or something related to that house placement for you guys. Another thing, you can rediscover your passions. Now, this is for everybody in any area of life. This is a great time to pursue what lights your fire. Tis the Aries season anyway, until we enter Taurus season, April 19th. So we really want to make the most of this Aries energy from now until the 19th when Taurus comes on in and we shift our vibes yet again. So this is really the time of initiation. So I just want to encourage everybody, even though you may hear messages about Mercury retrograde being like, wait, hold on, like don't make any sudden movements. I am going to go against that grain. All right. Little hot take here. And I'm going to say, because it's Aries season, and the retrograde is happening in Aries, this is actually a time to move forward, to get experimental. You may not have the plan revised and refined and fully ready to go until Mercury goes direct April 25th and like the following weeks. It may not be completely polished, but that doesn't matter because initiation will be rewarded during this time. If you take the risks, you will be rewarded. I'm telling you, just mark my words, guys. You got to trust yourself and go with it. You can bring new inspiration into your life by doing and revisiting old things that you used to love. So, some fun ideas. Maybe you used to take kickboxing classes. Go do that. Maybe you used to go rollerblading on the trails. Go do that. Just anything that you used to do that was fun. And it doesn't have to be athletic. Maybe it was you used to like to paint. Great time to pick it back up. You may find that while you're painting, some inspiration pops into your mind and you're inspired to redo something in that Aries house. The way that the universe just kind of works together to bring us the messages and do all the things, it's wild. And we are going to talk about that with the Reddit stuff. I can't wait. But yeah, so okay, do those things, revisit old hobbies, have some fun. Also release what no longer serves you. Okay. Aries season, and particularly with Mercury retrograde in Aries, this is a time to be a little bit, I don't want to say selfish because that's such a bad, it's so icky. Let's say self-focused. And if everybody's self-focused, if we're all taking care of ourselves, then we are, I mean, we've heard a million times, very cliche, but it's cliche because it's true. If we're feeling satisfied because we've taken care of ourselves, we're not feeling resentful, we're not feeling burnt out, we're able to show up for our friends, our family members, our projects, everything that is important to us, we are able to have more energy for. And then when we're all in a good place, a high tide raises all ships. That's the vibe here. So you want to release what no longer serves you, release anything that's dragging you down and pulling you away from that best self. And it may take extra courage, extra strength. You might have to confront some challenges. You may have to face some truths, do some things that you maybe have been dreading. You've maybe even dragging your feet. This is the time though. Just give yourself the extra push of courage and you will be able to thrive. You will push through the barrier. This is the time to force yourself to push through the barrier. A good book to read if you are kind of like struggling with this vibe right now. Oh my gosh, it's in my library. I have so many books, you guys. I'm such a Virgo sun. Feel the fear and do it anyway. I forget who the author is, but it's so good. And it's got a red cover and it's a great book. If you were, this is honestly, that's the only book I'm going to recommend. If you need inspo to move forward during this season, read that book. I'm sure it's available like on Amazon and Audible. I'll link it below on Amazon. Couple last things here. Great time to renovate, great time to reorganize. You know, it's no coincidence that spring cleaning is happening during Aries season when we have extra energy because it takes energy to freaking organize your house. I mean, ugh. Also, it's a good time to like, as you let go of things and organize your house, like you could do a house purge right now. Trust me, you'll feel so much better. I know. Let me be your friend and tell you, like, just do it. And I hate it so much too. But I'm going to load up some podcasts and I am going to donate some clothes. I need to go through my office, get rid of some just old paperwork and just stuff that's clogging up the space. And by doing that, workly burning away what we don't need, we open up space, right? So, like, this is just a time to really clear it all out. Focus on yourself, do what you need to do. It's really more about action, it's more about your energy than anything else. And so, this is more of a time of self focus. The next thing I want to talk about that we have to put on our calendars is Venus entering Aries. This is going to happen April 5th, and this will last through April 29th. Now, the reason that this is important is because wherever Venus goes, the aesthetic, like style, actually follows, and our love lives and finances are impacted. A few things to know about Venus in Aries. Let's start with the beauty and style of it all because that's so much fun. So, a couple of celebrities that have Venus in Aries that are just so perfect to really be an example of the sign and the way that it operates, the aesthetic, the look, the feel. First, we have Gal Gadot. This is definitely a Wonder Woman energy. And I love the fact that Gal Gadot played Wonder Woman and has Venus in Aries. It couldn't be more perfect. This is a time for all of us to step into our inner superhero energy. If you need a little extra boost, get yourself some Wonder Woman pajamas. Like, I'm serious. Like, this is the time to inspire yourself, lean into your inner hero. Like, this is that energy, the independence. It would be a great movie to watch during this time period also because you would feel inspired and like revved up. And basically, what we notice about Gal Gadot is that when she was in the movie, obviously her costume was very Venus and Aries with the red and the shine and looking very sharp with those sharp edges. Venus in Aries is very sharp, very athletic, lots of reds, oranges, bright colors, gold, also a lucky color. That alone is just honestly perfect. So if you have a superhero costume, go ahead and wear that. Also, Marilyn Monroe has Venus in Aries. Definitely a different take on the energy, but very similar. I was doing a little bit of searching around about just her style because I was curious to see if Marilyn Monroe fits the aesthetic because I think of her as extremely feminine. Venus in Aries is feminine, but it's like feminine fire. So sometimes it comes across as very like forceful. It's not your typical like Venus energy that we can really see with like Libra and Taurus, both ruled by Venus. This is your feminine fire energy. So it definitely comes across differently, but Marilyn Monroe is a perfect example of that. Kind of reminds me of like dark feminine and like light feminine, whatever that trend was on TikTok. It's kind of like that, but both very feminine, right? So Marilyn Monroe, when I was looking up her style, I found so many articles that talked about how red was such a signature color for her. And I had to do an audible scream because I was like, oh my gosh, I knew it. Like astrology in the wild. Red is the lucky color of Aries, obviously associated with the zodiac sign of Aries. But the fact that Marilyn Monroe, her dresses, if you guys are watching the video format of this, you can see the dresses on screen. Fabulous. The cuts are very form fitting, showing off her figure. Aries people tend to have a really great shape. They tend to be more muscular or able to build muscle more easily because it is the warrior zodiac sign, right? And they tend to have a really great like upper body, nice formed arms. They're the type of people that they go in the gym a couple weeks and they already start to get like results. So it's good for you guys. But Marilyn Monroe, it's so funny too, because we even see some pictures of her in the 50s lifting weights, of course, looking fabulous. And who knows, how much she really did work out. But people said that she would lift some weights. And in these photos, it's very Venus in Aries, looking sexy, looking feminine and beautiful, but while doing something very warrior esque of lifting heavy weights, lifting these barbells, these dumbbells. So that's very Marilyn. The red, like I said, the shape of the body, because the physical form is very Aries, but also red lipstick, a signature for Marilyn Monroe. We also see Gal Gadot on the red carpet wearing red lipstick a lot. So we want to take a little bit of inspo from them during this time period, which I think is so much fun. I love that we can be wearing like fiery red and orange during this like spring transition. I'm wearing red. I'm actually wearing um this little race, like motorcycle race thing. I got it from Fashion Nova. I was like, I just want to wear something fun and like race car-esque. And then I made this choker. It has little like red lips on it. Is it upside down? Oh Lord. Hopefully not. But it might be. And honestly, if so, that's just it is upside down. Hilarious. Well, Mercury retrograde for you. See, so sometimes things are a little bit backwards. But with Venus and Aries from April 5th to April 29th, this is the time to also make bold choices with your style. Wear more red, more orange, and gold. If you need a little bit of a boost of like charisma, tell Venus, here I am. I want to look good. I want to attract money, energy, other people, all that good stuff. I want to feel confident. That is good. That will give you a little bit of a boost. And this would be a time to dress in items that are a little bit more form fitting, that are a little bit fiery, daring, out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to go for a sparkle. Don't be afraid to wear a big, chunky gold earring. Like, just think warrior. Like, my inspiration for dressing right now is very much like warrior energy, red, or like race car, which is what I'm wearing right now. Because, of course, Aries, right? Fast car, going quick. Moving right along in the spirit of Aries, let's talk about what you can do to boost your charisma during Venus in Aries. This is in your love life and in your finances because Venus does have an influence on our love life and our wallet, of course. So this is a time to embrace your independence. So your independence and the independence of others will be extra attractive at this time. We may even see like in social media or in just in the media in general that there are more news stories about people being independent, being them, being their true selves, people coming out with their truth. And this is going to be something that rises to the forefront. People starting new ventures. Venus and Aries very much supports entrepreneurship. So we're going to see a lot of news stories, my prediction, of, people just being like, "Hey, this is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. This is my story." Things like that. And that's going to be lifted up in our culture. Venus definitely has an impact on the trends and things that we see come to the forefront. We're also going to see more red, people wearing more red, red having a little bit of a resurgence at this time, which is going to be fun. Also, you want to channel your energy in a way that sends it to a healthy outlet, okay? Especially with Venus here. We may be inclined to be impulsive. That's one of like the downsides of Aries energy is that while things are moving fast and it's fun and fiery, we just have to be careful that we don't get carried away. So, don't overspend during this time. You just want to kind of pump the brakes a little bit, okay? Pun intended, and be sure that as you are enjoying this time period that you don't do anything that you're going to regret, okay? So that's really important actually. And instead, let's say that you are feeling impulsive, you just want to do something, you're feeling bored, you just need to get out of your rut. Channel that towards something healthy. Channel it towards going through for a hike. If you have excess energy to burn during this time period, which you probably will, engaging in some sort of like sporty activity, be your inner sporty spice and do things that bring you excitement. Do something adventurous. Go rock climbing, with the proper safety equipment, of course, because not only will you have more fun and it be good for your energy so that it doesn't get stuck in like anger or like lower vibrations of Aries energy, but it'll also make you more attractive. So if you're single and wanting to meet someone or hoping to attract the right person, during Aries season, the best way to attract someone is by doing things that are athletic, by doing things that kind of get you out of your comfort zone. You may just meet someone that finds that quality in you extremely attractive because that really is what I don't know, wherever Venus is, it's kind of like what we're all vibing with. So that's just where the love is flowing. A couple other little do's and don'ts. Be sure that you're not impatient during this time period. That can happen a little bit also with Venus and Aries during Aries season. Make sure that you continue to communicate with kindness, even though you're going to want to be direct, and that's important during this time. That's really the best way to get things done during Venus and Aries, especially, is to just be direct, but be sure that you're mindful of where the other person's coming from, be sure that you kind of stay on that with that balanced continuum. Aries and Libra are on opposite sides. So just try to walk the tightrope between the two. Like be kind, be harmonious, but be direct, but also be yourself, be authentic, be honest. That will be rewarded. And then also, like, this is a great time to plan dates together that are more adventurous and outdoorsy. I'm planning some fun stuff with my husband. We're going to do some hikes with our dogs. The weather is great right now, and this is the time to do that. That's a really good way to bond. A picnic outside. Just doing things that feel adventurous. Maybe plan a trip, even if you don't go on it like right now. This would be a really fun time to plan a trip and have an adventure to look forward to with your significant other. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. This is just a time to be a little more bold, have a little more fun, and think less, do more, take more action, be courageous. I like this time of year. I feel like we can get away with a little bit more, you know? Okay. All right. Moving right along. New moon solar eclipse happening in Aries, April 8th. I'm going to talk about that more over on the Brit Madrid YouTube channel. If you guys want to tune in to that, I'll be talking about it in one of the live streams coming up this week. The sun enters Taurus, April 19th. We'll talk about that when we get over to Taurus season. And that's when what we'll do is basically take all the plans that we've made, everything that inspired us during Aries season, and particularly everything that we got inspired to change and do and get out of our comfort zone with during Mercury retrograde in Aries. And Taurus is going to give us the firm foundation underneath our feet. So that's when we really start the work of building. So enjoy this part because this is the spark. This is the start. Things are always the most fun when you're starting something new. And then Taurus requires us to actually like show up and like, put like do the work, care, do all the chop the wood, stay the course. It reminds me of like very much like four energy and numerology. But we'll talk about that then and we will find some bright spots. Don't you worry. Full moon in Scorpio coming up April 23rd. That is going to bring a culmination in the area of your chart ruled by Scorpio. For me, it's my 10th house of career. Have no clue what could be coming up. Literally no idea. So we'll see. I would love to hear what you guys have coming up, what you experience, and where Scorpio is for you. But the full moon is basically just going to be a culmination. And because it's coming so close to this new moon solar eclipse, I feel like it is going to be solidifying, like just intuitively. I feel like it's going to be solidifying and bringing about another part of that story, of that fresh start. I feel like it's going to bring something else in. So it'll either be like really closing a chapter, or maybe it'll be showing us something else that's like a building block. But I'm excited to see what comes up, but it will be in the part of your chart that is ruled by Scorpio. So that's important to know. And once you see which house is ruled, you may already kind of like know what it's going to be. For me, I really just, I don't know. I can't tell. And then Mars will enter Aries April 30th. I'm excited for that. So when Mars enters Aries April 30th, Venus will already be gone. So basically, Venus leaves, then Mars shows up. That is just going to add a different layer because Mars is at home in Aries. This is basically going to be a period where we're going to have even more stamina, even more energy. And we'll talk about that later in the month. I'm excited about that period too. We're basically going to have like the fire to put behind, and it's coming with Taurus season, of course, the fire and extra energy to put behind and push those creative plans, relationships, ideas, fun things that we got up to while Aries was in Venus, or Venus was in Aries, and Mars is going to push it forward. So there's a lot happening. There's a lot of energy right now. So I'm excited. So just look alive, keep it moving, keep it fun, keep it light, and we've got this. All right. Let's talk about Astrology in the Wild, Reddit edition. Oh, I can't wait. Now, this is hilarious. So, you guys, this is where I hang out on the internet, Reddit. You'll find me on Reddit. And when I'm Redditing, I'm usually Redditing about dogs or reading like pop culture, like Pop Crave, or I like to go around and see what other people are saying. The Just Trish Reddit. I just like to see what my fellow people are saying. I think it's the Aquarius rising in me. I like to get my chit chat on. But Astrology in the Wild Reddit edition, if you go over onto Reddit and look at our astrology, you get a whole lot of info, a lot of conversations. So I love this thread. What was the moment that made you fully believe in astrology? All right, let's get into what the Redditors had to say. First one, right out the gate. This one is intense and insane and very convincing. So there was no hugging in the first week of March. Astrology Podcast 2020 forecast posted December 16th, 2019. And I love the fact that we have timestamps. I feel like when you're doing predictions, and when I do my tarot tea predictions, I'm always so grateful that like when I post on YouTube or on Instagram or wherever I'm putting my stuff, the timestamp is there. The date is there. Like you cannot make that up because it's so wild that you want to be like, wait, what? Like, how could someone possibly have known? The Astrology Podcast is a really good podcast. It's super long form and they go really deep into like the transits and everything. If you like stuff like that, it's a great resource. Or they said there will be no hugging in the third week of March. Astrology Podcast for 2020 forecast. And March 13th, I remember it well because it was also my first date with my husband of 2020. That was when at least in Dallas, they like announced that things were closing down. I have chills. I have chills. Okay, moving to the next one. Isn't that crazy? Tiny Raindrop said, learning that that Judge Judy is a Libra stellium. LOL. Oh my God. And everybody knows that Libra is associated with justice. And I have a little something to add to that. My husband, Michael, is a lawyer and he's a Libra sun. I used to say that he was the Libra lawyer when I would go on podcasts before we were like seriously dating and I was chit chatting about my love life. How hilarious is that? Wow. She's a Libra stellium. So a person who basically has made their whole career about being a judge and being more of like an entertainment judge. Obviously, I think it's much different, but still, wow. Da King 2024 said she definitely has an Aries ascendant, though. I'm 99% sure, which would place her Libran stellium in the seventh house, which is even more impressive because Libra rules the seventh house, as we know. So that's like, you don't get more Libra than that. Okay. So hilarious. Okay. Auntie M says, I work in criminal justice, and so many attorneys, I'm telling you, and so many attorneys and people I work with have heavy Libra placements. Okay. Like, yes. All right. Canary Feelings 491 says, honestly, pretty lame. But when I discovered that there was more than just your sun sign and learned about natal/synastry charts, after doing extensive research on my planets and houses and greatly relating to everything, that's when I fully believed and didn't question it much after that. So this person basically They used to do what I think all of us did at one point, which is basically just like read your sun sign horoscope in Cosmopolitan magazine. And you're like, that's kind of me. Or like, no, that didn't happen. Or, that's when people say, well, you'll probably resonate with something like they're so vague. And people who say that have a point. I mean, they're not wrong. But as Canary Feelings 491 said, when you look at natal synastry charts, when you look at extensive research into your planets and houses, you're shocked. It's actually totally different from the very pop surface sun sign astrology predictions. Like those I do not pay attention to. If anything, if I read them, it's for my rising sign, which that's what we should all be doing, is reading horoscopes for our rising sign. So yeah, I think that just came about to make things easier and like fun and entertaining, but it did the whole world of astrology a really big disservice in my opinion. But here we are, Age of Aquarius, we're coming back around to it. All right, Watermelon Sugar 888, hilarious name, said, I wonder what kind of transit you had going. Canary Feelings, of course, responded, interesting observation. Now it's making me wonder too. If only I remembered the exact date of the revelation, LOL. Blue Cornholio. I love Reddit. I'm sorry. It's too funny. I went through the same thing when my progressed Mercury stationed retrograde. Now, Mercury, the way we think and communicate, and like, okay, like we were saying, research, a time to rethink, redo, a good time to introspect. Yeah. So, of course, Blue Cornholio went through that when their Mercury progressed Mercury station direct retrograde. It was a time of looking inward. Helps you rethink the way you think, the way you see yourself. This person said, wait, what's their name? I want to give shout outs to the names. Sunshine of Your Love. Great name. Said, this happened to me once Jupiter, the planet of expansion, side note, moved into Taurus, ninth house in my chart. Ninth house is the house of philosophy. So when Jupiter, the great expander, the giver of gifts and luck, moved into the ninth house, which is where also that's the zodiac sign it's associated with, typically is ninth house ruler Sagittarius. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. Um, anyway, I'm getting a little too convoluted, but what I'm saying, is that the ninth house, the fact that this person got into astrology and started studying and then looked up where they were at, what was going on. And it was when Jupiter moved into their ninth house, when Jupiter, the great expander, moved into the ninth house of philosophy. That's wild. So they started to expand their philosophies. They started to expand the way they see the world. That's crazy. I love it. Okay. Gamer Chick 37 said, I was having a bad time at work. My family member, who is a seasoned astrologer, told me that I'm going to get a gift, most likely a raise soon. I was like, there's no way. There's no way I will because it's too early for our yearly evals, which happened around the summer. It was January, so I didn't believe it was going to happen. A week or so later, I got a raise. It was very spot on. That's wild. Susan Miller, astrologer Susan Miller from Astrology Zone. I've had her on the podcast before, like I think 2 years ago. And I was at her on my TV show. She's spot on. I've been reading her stuff since college. And she predicted my engagement even, which was August 8th, Lionsgate. Okay. Okay. Anyway, spot on. Crazy. She also predicted like a very romantic time period around January 15th, which is when I got married. I mean, just crazy. Okay. Auntie M says, lunar eclipse directly conjunct my midheaven quite unexpectedly. Wait, just to clarify, lunar eclipses are when things are eclipsed out. Um, and that can have to do with things like just leaving, basically, especially lunar tends to be the way I remember it, like lunar loss or lunar leaving. Solar eclipse, the sun illuminating, giving, bringing. Okay. It's just like one's give and like one brings things in, one makes things leave, if that makes sense. So the lunar eclipse would be leaving. So things leaving your life. Lunar eclipse directly conjunct my midheaven. The midheaven in our birth charts is the area of our life that has to do with our public image, our career, the way that people see us. So it's like your persona, kind of like your reputation. So something leaving conjunct her midheaven. So something leaving, and that's happening like in her area of her life that has to do with the way people see her and her career. All right. Quite unexpectedly, eclipses can be very unexpected. Like we cannot predict what will happen. Quite unexpectedly, two people at my work quit and I got promoted to a new position that I was definitely destined to be doing. Like, what? You can't make this stuff up. Oh my God. Okay, that's another thing to note about eclipses. Something that eclipses are known for is like, yes, they will sometimes shock you because if you're a little bit off track, for example, the universe will be like, all right, I am going to remove these people and give them promotions or give them positions elsewhere where they're going to be thriving, like getting them back on track and then getting Auntie M into the position that she says she was definitely destined to be doing this work. And then it moves you where you're supposed to go. Think of it like divine intervention. Okay. So whatever happens, just like with Mercury retrograde, these are kind of like divine intervention times. Just trust it and go with it. But how wild is that? Like who would think? She was probably wondering, like, well, what's gonna happen? Lunar eclipse conjunct my midheaven. I hope my Scorpio 10th house thing is good at the full moon. Pray for me. Okay, next, guys. Always working 2880 says, was it with North Node or South Node? North Node, remember, moves you towards your destiny, where you're meant to go. South Node is like, it could be past lives, like what your comfort zone, or like what, in your earlier life, it's more of like unfinished business, but like later in life, it's definitely like your comfort zone. So you kind of want to move away from it. Of course, Auntie M says North Node, where she was destined to go. Love it. Someone said, I checked the dates and found that the person who played the starring role appeared in my life the exact day that Saturn returned to its natal position. If there's any planet that convince one of the validity of astrology, it's Saturn. Okay, so this person's Saturn return, there was someone that came in, and the way they're saying a starring role makes me think it could be like a person that broke their heart because the Saturn return, um, your Saturn return is when like you're forced to like kind of grow up. There'll be challenges or your life can get a big shakeup. Again, if you were kind of like off track or the universe wants to push you in a new direction, it can feel like a tower moment because things will get like shaken up a little bit, makes me that TikTok like shake, shook, shack or whatever. Yeah, that's what happens. But it's so that you get on track. It's not like a bad thing, but it will feel challenging because Saturn is like the coach. It's like, okay, we got to do the hard thing now. You've been skating by, now it's time to buckle down. But it feels rewarding and like you end up feeling good about it. Anyway, wild. The person came into her life the exact day that her Saturn return began. I'm telling you, it's so wild. Okay, Tiny Seashell says Marie Kondo is totally a Virgo, and sidereal astrology got it right. Hilarious. Virgo is known for being like meticulous, clean, orderly. I've actually seen it. You're either that type of Virgo or the other type of Virgo that's just like a chaos mess. I'm not going to tell you guys which one I am. Okay, moving on. Dudley says, things changed for me when I had my chart rectified. My whole life, my mom always told me I was born just after midnight. Mm. Astrology seemed to only vaguely describe who I was. I was supposedly Leo rising, but that only sort of fit. Then last year, my auntie told me she remembers me being born. She was there. It was around 10 a.m. I redid my chart and everything just clicked. Wow. It was like my whole life was written out on the pages all of a sudden. Suddenly, I was a Scorpio rising, very different energy from Leo rising, of course, with a 12th house stellium. Ooh, very intense. What a mysterious, intense person. No wonder they are on the Reddit astrology thread. Very interesting person, I'm sure. I almost cried. It turns out my mom was thinking of my older brother, who was born just after midnight, just like a Leo, taking up all the attention and brain space. Mhm. Just kidding. I'm a Leo in Vedic astrology, so I can say that. The Leo-ness I was showing was my moon and Venus. Ah, that's why it felt sort of right, but not totally right. So interesting. I love that. I had the same exact thing happen, except my whole life, I thought I was a Sagittarius rising, which like kind of fit because I do have like other things going on in my house ruled by Sagittarius. Like I have a lot of energy there, but I didn't feel like a Sagittarius rising. And then I found my birth certificate and I looked at the date and I mean at the time and it was off by a few hours. Typed it in, found out I'm an Aquarius rising. And I was like, that feels so right. Okay, my life makes sense. Just like this person experienced. Totally can relate. Okay, and last one here. David John McCann said, when I was a student, I had a vacation job in a bookshop, and they had a small astrological textbook from a respectable publisher. It made me wonder if there was anything in it. So, when my mother confirmed that she knew my birth time, I bought the book and an ephemeris for the year of my birth. Everything in the chart fit except the ascendant. There was no way I was Taurus. Ah, the ascendant seems to really be tripping people up. My mother was adamant that she had the right time, so I wondered whether the book was mistaken. A search in the back files of a newspaper revealed that it was. I was a Gemini. The fact that I could identify a mistake was as convincing as the fact that the rest fit. Oh, so the book had like a misprint? That's wild. Okay, a couple more. The good old Saturn return. Okay, here we go, guys. The Saturn return one's always really convinced me because when I had my Saturn return in the 10th house of career, I was into astrology somewhat, but I was really like hustling and working hard. So I wasn't like aware that it was happening. It was just a very intense time of hard work in my life. And what ended up happening was like that was when I transitioned from sports reporting to having my own TV show that I still have today, my own talk show that airs on ABC in Dallas that I self-produce and all that. And it's like I feel like it's my purpose, along with this. But I went back to check the dates, and that's all happened during my Saturn return. It was like solidified at the end of my Saturn return when I turned 30. Like crazy, but it was and in my 10th house of career. It was, I mean, so dead on. That was when I was like, there's no denying this. It's so real. And I have other friends who went through like breakups and things because they had it in their 7th house. So it's very interesting. Check to see which house your Saturn is in and see if anything was going on at the end of your 20s that greatly had to do with that house. Petra says, I've always been a pretty passive believer since my childhood. But my Saturn return really confirmed a lot of things for me. Okay. That's hilarious. Petra, that's exactly what I was just saying. Agree with you, girl. Skeptical optimist. I like that name. 144 says, probably a Scorpio or Virgo. This is me. I found photos from specific crazy experiences energetically. And when generating the astro chart, everything made perfect sense, almost shockingly. I didn't know my Saturn return was happening and didn't learn about real astrology until right afterwards. Yes, can relate. It's not Taco Tuesday said, that's hilarious. My worst exes were Scorpios. Oh my God, me too. Sorry, but me too. Okay, next, moving along. Professional Mind 489 says, I was ready to swear off men after going through a chaotic breakup. I asked the universe to send me a password when I met the right one. It was the most ridiculous word I could think of. One I've only heard in a movie and never in real life. I met somebody new and it seemed to be going well when we were having dinner with his parents. I'd say it was going well. And one of them said the word. I guess this isn't as much about astrology, but it made me believe in the power of the universe as a whole, which I think has a lot to do with astrology. Very cool. I am obsessed with that one. That's amazing. Manifesting and speaking to the universe. Great time to do that at new moons as well. Maybe you want to set up a word intention for like confirmation of something else, in our lives. We could totally do that. Okay, Shiny Eon says, I'm not sure I do fully believe in it even now, but I definitely got a strong hint. There was something to it when I was learning, and I told my boss, who I knew was an Aries in parentheses, you don't have to pick up the phone every time it rings. I swear you're as bad as a Gemini. She gave me a funny look and said, I have Gemini rising. Oh my gosh, that's tea. And that is tea. Okay, Hala ND says, all the employers I have worked with or people who brought monetary opportunities to me have their planets positioned in my 2nd and 8th houses, either their sun or moon. Ooh, so interesting. I want to check that later. Like anyone I've worked with who's been like a business partner, did they fall in your 2nd or 8th house? So the way you would check that, just for anybody who's brand new, let's say you have that whole sign houses pulled up, you scroll down to the bottom, and it says like your 2nd house or your 8th house is ruled by like, let's just pretend Aries. And then you find that your boss who gave you a promotion has an Aries sun or an Aries moon, like that. So that's interesting. Planets positioned in 2nd house or 8th house. Yeah, because 2nd house is money that we make, 8th house is money that we inherit. Okay, I love it. And then sun or moon. Okay. It's Not Taco Tuesday says, looked at my natal chart and saw how events perfectly lined up with my life, including childhood events and moving homes, and spending time at home because of COVID and having a loved one pass away a few months ago. Aw, too many details were correct for it to just be a lucky guess. I also ignored a random horoscope about a car accident. Whoa, later that day I got into one. I'm fine, just pissed that it was right. I'm glad Taco Tuesday is fine. That's wild, though. That is wild. Okay, 3 more. The Twin Set 02 says 2020. I knew something big. We all knew something big was coming. And geez, something big happened. Yeah, for fun, if you ever just want to go back and look at like astrology horoscopes from the end of 2019 about 2020, you will be able to see the legit astrologers who predicted that something unprecedented was going to happen. That I mean, there are people out there who have predicted this, and you can find it online. And it will just like if you need a reason to believe in astrology, that's a great place to start. I left a comment under an astro video from 2019 talking about 2020. It still freaks me out to this day. Oh my God. Yes, totally. Okay. Artistic expert 260. This solar eclipse is about to be a deciding factor for me. My eclipse transit to natal is so intense that if nothing ends up happening, I'm giving up on all of this. LOL. I've had many instances where I believed in it though. As an example, I've always attracted people of the same signs in my life. My three closest friends, my mom and my uncle, are all Leos. My lover and another close friend are Sagittarius. I also attract many Tauruses, and I'm also a Taurus. And last but not least, Christina Goldwatch says, since being a teenager, I knew I was a Gemini, but found out in my early 20s that my sun was in the eighth house. Mine's there too. And reading about the eighth house just blew my mind. It felt so absolutely true to a core part of me that I never knew how to explain. It was definitely off to the races after that. Yeah, I love when like astrology puts words to something that you've known about yourself in like a deep way, but you just couldn't put it into words. Amazing. Okay. So much fun. So much fun. So astrology's an adventure, having a blast. I love reading stuff like that. It just energizes me, gets me even more excited. We love an astrology in the wild moment. So just let's get out there and live our astrology in the wild moment. There's going to be a lot going on in April, but it's all good. So let's just keep manifesting good stuff. Keep it moving with that positive Aries energy. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for being with me on this new part of the journey. I am so excited. As part of this new part of the journey, I'm also going to start having video podcasts distributed on Spotify. So wherever you guys are used to listening to this or watching this, you can also check out the video on Spotify. I'm really excited about that. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. And if you want to hang out before then, head over to the Brit Madrid YouTube channel because over there, we will do some lives. We will discuss. I have a great lineup of tarot tea for this week. A lot of conspiracy theories, a lot of craziness happening. So we'll chit chat over there. But other than that, if you guys would leave a review, it would mean so much to me, especially now that I am independent and no longer with a network. Your reviews will make a huge difference. So it would mean the world to me. Thank you guys for everything. And on cue, Sunny, my little pup, just came in here to say it's time to go. All right. I love you guys. Take care. Happy Aries season.